Okay, so today we're tackling something pretty different. We're going deep on this question, can a gun really inspire new ideas? Like the same way we've seen with things like the printing press, the steam engine, those big inventions that kind of changed the world.
Right. And the text you sent, this pasted text, it jumps right into this interesting comparison. On one hand, you have all these inventions focused on like creating, connecting, building, and then you have the gun, which, well, its main purpose is pretty different.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes you think, does the very nature of something like limit the kind of ideas it can spark? I mean, your source really leans into this limited purpose argument, right?
Absolutely. It draws this sharp distinction between things that are meant to like enhance life in a broad way, like communication or travel, and then something that has a very specific and, well, a destructive purpose.
It's interesting because the text points out how something like the radio, that led to so many new things, different ways to communicate, entertainment, even entire industries were born out of it. But a gun, it seems like it's designed for a very particular task.
Yeah, it's almost like its focus is so narrow that it doesn't really lend itself to that kind of branching out, to all these different applications and ideas. It's just very direct.
But then, and this is where I think things get really interesting, the text shifts gears. It asks, what if we try to add a gun for perspective? Not necessarily about like inventing new gadgets, but more in terms of, I guess you could say, introspection.
Right. And that raises this huge question. Can something so closely tied to violence actually lead to, well, constructive thought? And the text actually suggests that looking at a gun, especially an older one, can really force you to think about the human cost of conflict.
It's like instead of thinking about what the object does, you're forced to confront what it represents. And your source suggests that kind of raw understanding could actually push people towards finding peaceful solutions.
Absolutely. I mean, think about how studying history, especially conflicts and wars, has sometimes led to new approaches in diplomacy.
It's definitely a different way of looking at things. And the text goes on to suggest a more practical angle, too. It mentions that studying the mechanics of a gun, the safety features, all that stuff, it could lead to new ideas about improving gun safety itself.
Right. Or even things like educational initiatives for a responsible gun ownership. It's not about inventing something completely new and unrelated, but more about finding solutions within that specific context.
And to round things out, your source brings up this whole idea of art and symbolism. I mean, guns have been in our stories, our art, for centuries. And the text suggests that analyzing how they're portrayed could give us new, maybe even creative ways to tackle this complex issue of gun violence in society.
It's fascinating, isn't it, that the way we represent something can actually be a tool for addressing the very problem it embodies. It might be a more indirect path, but it could still have a big impact.
So to kind of bring it all together, the text seems to say that while a gun might not be the sparker for the next technological revolution, it can still make us think in new and important ways, just not necessarily in the same way as, say, the invention of the internet.
Yeah, exactly. It's a more nuanced view. It's about reflection, about analyzing its function, its symbolism. And through that, maybe we can find creative solutions related to violence and safety. It might not be the same kind of innovation, but it's still valuable.
Absolutely. So it really leaves you with something to ponder, right? Can something that's primarily designed for destruction ever really lead to, well, unexpected positive innovation? Or is the nature of the tool always going to dictate the kind of ideas it can inspire?
That's the question, isn't it? It really makes you think.
It does. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
This is DigitView.